Hello, my friends. Good morning. I missed you yesterday so very much, but here I am today to teach you how to write an amazing climax to your real fiction story. So, at this point, guys, you are almost done writing the rising action of your story, or maybe you have finished writing the rising action of your story. So, just in case you hit your head with a frying pan, or you had a concussion and forgot everything, or you have some dramatic form of amnesia and don't remember what rising action is, even though I said it like 648 times. Um, Rising action is the point of your plot that takes up most of your story. It's the bulk of a fiction story where the external conflict is causing all kinds of inner turmoil in your main character. They are watching the crisis get worse and worse and worse. Their problems and the drama and the level of tension and the tea is getting more and more and more crazy for them. Their level of inner chaos and their feelings and their stability is just going crazy. So for me, my rising action started when the volcano erupted. And nobody quite knows because this is ancient Rome and this was like a time where it was, pre kind of so much scientific fact. So my main character just knows, and everyone on the street just knows, that there is a big ball of fire rolling down the mountain, Mount Vesuvius, where it has just been erupting ash and kind of spewing this sort of spit and a little bit of fire before. Now there's a big ball of fire rolling down the hill. So I started my rising action with someone yelling fire and pointing up, and people are screaming, and then everyone just starts running. And then she sees it over here, and she can't find her mother and her brother because she wandered away because she was super annoyed at the market that they had to be there because she wanted to work on her painting at home. And she's a daydreamer, and she's following people, but she doesn't know where to go. And then her grandfather's friends, this elderly couple, pull her into this dark cellar, and they explain to her after she recognizes them and realizes that they're not in fact kidnapping her. um, she understands then that they're her grandfather's friends, and they explain what's going on to a degree. He's not a volcanic scientist, but he gets that it's going to come down the hill and kill everybody. Um, and she says, no, I have to go find my family. And they're basically like, no, this is the only place you can stay safe. So then the stakes are in front of her. I placed a decision before her. And that's what you should have done too in your rising action. You should have given your main character an unavoidable choice that they have to make. In my case, Claudia has to decide, is she going to go out in the street when there's like fire coming towards her to find her family, or is she going to stay with them? Because he says we could all be dead. You could be killed if you leave. Um, and outside and all around her, they're screaming and yelling, and it's getting warmer and warmer. Um, and that's something actually in revision. I'm going to really like make it more dramatic, how warm and hot it's getting and all of the environment. I really want to like build up the setting when I get to revision. So then she starts thinking about how her brother might be scared and lost. And then she is faced all of a sudden with this determination to go find her family. So the drama is increasing as we head up. If this was a plot mountain in front of you, we'd be getting to the very top of the mountain. Um, and at the top of the mountain in any story, if you have a plot mountain, it's the climax. And the climax of the story is when your character makes the big choice. It's the most dramatic moment in the story where they're faced with this do or die situation, this do or die decision. So Albus and Cassia, the old couple, are trying to lead her into this inner room in the cellar where when the heat is getting really hot. So basically, I'm going to read you this part of the story. So she's thought about her brother. She's thinking about him crying. She's thinking about him separated from the mother. So he's about to pull her even further into this cellar to be safe from the volcano. Just steps ahead of me, Albus was opening a small door which led to an inner room in their cellar. Quickly, quickly, he was saying. I can feel the heat coming down upon us. The fire will be the end of the village as we know it. So I'm making him say these really big, dramatic things. Um, we can tell the fire's getting closer because the heat's coming down. So, like, if I'm at the plot mountain, I'm like just coming up. I'm like a third of the way from the top. And then she says, safety was ahead of me and my family was behind me in danger. So I'm showing she has this choice. She's safe, but they're not. Cassia, oops, I have to indent. Boop. Cassia was pulling me into the doorway where Albus had lit an oil lamp and was beckoning me to crouch down onto the cool ground. Already the air was thick with smoke and fog and a dreadful warmth that seemed to grow hotter by the second. Screaming just a din in the background until now began to fill my ears. So she's hearing everybody screaming like crazy outside. So it's super, super dangerous. Like, we know she should maybe not go. Maybe she has her only chance at surviving is like being inside of this cellar with them. I realized I was pulling back on Cassia's weathered, soft, elderly hand. So like she's showing some resistance. I looked down at it and imagined the small, smooth hand of my mother with her evenly shaped nails, rough with dirt from our farm, but still beautiful and young. I didn't want to hold Cassia's hand anymore. I wanted my mother. So now is where she's making the decision. She wants her mother, not safety. Claudia, she asked, and by the dim light, I could see a questioning panic but kindly look in her eyes. Claudia! I swore I heard my mother's desperate voice calling out for me in the back of my mind. In a flash. So here's where the climax starts. Okay? In a flash, I dropped Cassia's hand and whirled around. I ran back to the doorway, and with all my strength, I pushed the heavy wooden bench from in front of it. It scraped across the floor, dimming out the sounds of Albus and Cassia yelling warnings, their hollers of, Claudia, no, it's too dangerous. But all I could think of was my family, how I might have a chance to save them, how even if I couldn't, I would at least be able to maybe see them one more time. Okay, she's like, even if I die, I can still maybe see them one more time. Very dramatic. I opened the heavy iron latch and flung the door wide to the outside world. I couldn't see much past the heavy clay steps, but the air was thick with hot gray smoke. I covered my mouth with my arm and coughing, ascended the stairs. Okay, so she's walking up the stairs. She has decided to leave. Okay, so now I am going to give her a lot of inner thinking. I'm going to stretch out the climax just to torture my reader because that's like a super fun thing to do. Just like make them wait for it. Okay. I don't know what I imagined finding at the top of those steps or what it was that made me so determined to leave the safe haven of Albus and Cassia's back cellar. Maybe I envisioned my mother and brother would be standing at the top of their stairs against a blue sky, as blue as the birds from the painting I had just started that morning. Claudia, my mother would be saying with her arms outstretched, where have you been? You must have fallen asleep in the cellar. This has just been a nightmare, a bad dream, my brother would echo. Instead, my eyes adjust through the haze of smoke and ash in time to see pairs of legs running and bodies strewn on the cobblestone road, coughing, desperate for a breath of air. So that's where my climax stops because my climax is her deciding to leave. Okay. After the climax, I have falling action, which is what happens after she leaves. And like, no spoilers, but she dies. Okay. Because like nobody survives. And that's not going to be very long because she's going to, die. But that's what's going to happen next. And that we'll get to next time we meet. But for your climax, you are giving her a decision and then you're filling it with action. You are really describing everything your character is doing with their body and their mind. So she's making a decision. What is she thinking? Okay. She might have a chance to save them, but at least she'll be able to see them again. That's the decision she's making, right? The description. She's opening the heavy latch. She's flinging the door open. She's covering her mouth with her arm, coughing. Give your reader all these sensory details like you gave them in the rising action. And then slow it the heck down. All right. It's like, I want to make this trip up the stairs so slow. Like, you can make anything really slow as a writer. You could make your character lifting their eyes to see the burning North Tower during September 11th really slow. If you just do things like put it in slow motion. I lifted my eyes, saw the sidewalk. I saw the don't walk sign. I lifted my eyes and saw a bird in the sky and then moved them to the right to see the flames erupting from the building. See, more sentences, just slow it down and give each image separately. Make it like a series of photographs. If you're doing a battle, You could say, I moved my left foot up the muddy slope, followed by my right. I willed my feet to move one step further. And then you've just stretched out one step for 3 sentences. Try your best to slow it down. If it's too slow, we can always speed it up during revision. Okay. And then I give her a fantasy of what she wants to see at the top of the stairs, thinking about like how she wants her mom to be there and her brother to be there, and then what the reality is. So that's something else you could do in the moment before the big thing happens or the big reality. Give your character a fantasy, give them something to imagine. So maybe if you're doing a 9/11 story, you could say, I imagined that my mother and father would come up behind me, hollering my name, letting me know that they were safe, but the reality was blank. If you're doing a story about a shipwreck, you could say, I imagine my body washing up to the shore, seeing my mother and father safe, having built a campfire for me with roasting meat over a spit, knowing we would all be fed and okay. I don't know. Or maybe if you're doing a story about someone who's depressed or whose family is going through trauma, say, I imagine us happy and all together again, sitting around the table at Thanksgiving. Like, give your character a fantasy and then, boom, ruin your reader's dreams. That's the best part about being a writer. So fun to mess with your reader. Okay, love you.